This new year, it's time to do wellness on your terms. That's where Ollie comes in. Thanks to their delightful gummies, you can actually get a good night's sleep. And you might finally stand a chance of staying focused. Because this is the year of you. Discover Ollie vitamins and supplements. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
In the next 4 episodes, you will be learning how to buy, fix, and flip websites.
All right.
Bonjour, bonjour. What's going on, my fellow and future millionaires? This is Justin Williams coming to you from Marseille, France. I gotta be honest with you, this French language is killing me. We've been in Spanish-speaking countries for the last 3 weeks, and I happen to speak a little bit of Espanol, but I cannot figure out this French language. I try to talk to the people, and I start speaking in Spanish. It's a mess. But what you gonna do, huh? The show must go on. So about a month ago, I got this email that was talking about this concept of buying, fixing, and flipping websites. And with my real estate background, I thought it was a pretty interesting concept. Now, we typically get about 50 to 100 emails per week of people wanting to be on the Millionaire University podcast. And we just don't have the time or capacity to respond to most of them, to have most of them on the show. But this is one that really stood out to me. So I did a little bit more research on this guy, and he just seemed like a really cool, down-to-earth dude. So I reached out to him to set up a call. We got talking, we had a strong connection, and I loved how this related to my past, but with websites, with digital assets. Not only that, but a lot of the things that he was talking about reminded me of the commercial real estate investing that we've done. Now, online business, SEO, all that kind of stuff, like this isn't stuff that's brand new to me. Although these things aren't my forte, I'm not a super techie guy. It's not super new to me, but I just loved how Matt talked about these things and the way he looked at things. So we got talking, and I realized this was going to be something that would be hard to teach over one episode. So I asked Matt, I said, hey, how would you feel about coming on the Millionaire University podcast and teaching a series? Matt agreed, and him and I just got off an almost 3-hour-long call yesterday where he just delivered a masterclass in not only how to buy, fix, and sell websites, but we also got into how you can literally build them from the ground up. So this was a topic that I absolutely loved. I want to get my kids into doing it, and it's something that I knew you guys would love as well. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, rise to your feet and put your hands together for the one, the only, Matt Raad on how to buy, renovate, and sell or hold websites for a profit and financial freedom. So let's get started, Matt. Tell us about yourself.
Like a lot of your listeners, many, many years ago, we decided we wanted financial freedom, but in particular, we wanted the freedom to be able to live wherever we wanted. At the time, we wanted to live back in the country and raise our family with country values and all that sort of stuff. I think what drove us to discover this, and it's quite a path that we've been on, but it was this idea of semi-passive income, not having to swap time for money. That was super important. We saw our parents struggle when we were kids financially. And for me personally, I came from quite a poor background where money was a major struggle. So as Liz, everyone did in the 70s in rural Australia. It was pretty tough. But I think for me personally, that drove me. As a little kid, I wanted to be financially free. It wasn't so much about being rich as such, but it was just not go through the struggle that I saw my parents and my grandparents go through. They were immigrants to Australia. It was a tough time in the 70s, but a fun time. It was a beautiful time, but financially it was very difficult. So that was a big thing. And it's just always fascinated us. How do you make money through business? So we're totally self-taught, but then get the leverage to make it semi-passive. So you can then leverage it into other businesses. And that's the journey we went on. And we've always hung around mentors and personal mentors of ours who've successfully done that. And we just modeled it. And then we took it online. We just started buying and selling businesses online. That's pretty much our journey in a nutshell.
I know we've only talked a couple times, but it feels like you're a brother from another mother. Everything you're saying, same thing, grew up, didn't have a lot of money. From a young age, I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make money. And I'm very grateful for the circumstance I did grow up in, very loved, very taken care of, but we just couldn't do a lot of things. The prayer I would have every night as a young boy was, please bless him, my dad doesn't lose his job today. And just talking about, like, I'm getting like emotional. I remember standing outside our house, and there's this big palm tree. I don't know what it was, but in my mind I said, I don't know how to start a business. I don't know anyone who has started a business. I knew no one who started a business at the time. It was crazy, but I know people do it and I know I can do it. So hearing you share some of the stuff and knowing that we're both not technical at all, my wife, your wife helps us do our tech support. Love Australia. We've been there on our world tour. It was amazing. My son, who's 18, who I want to learn the stuff that you're talking about, he's like, I like Australia. I go visit Australia. And I was saying, you should build like a website about, because he loves birds. And so he wants to like build a website on birds. And so anyway, when I connected with you, there's all these things I was like, I've got to get Matt on. I really connected with the whole finding, buying, like renovating and flipping or holding website, online real estate type assets. It just connected a lot with me, but I felt like this could be a good path for my son and my kids and a lot of our listeners. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on. And it is perfect. We're noticing that now. We have a lot of parents of friends of ours who are asking us to chat to their kids and just show them an alternative pathway, because at the moment, it's the same in America. You know, real estate's at max prices and it's big risk. You know, first-time home buyers, it is a very big risk now for young people to get into real estate, which is still a great way to generate wealth. But I'm finding more parents like yourself, Justin, coming out to us and going, hey, can you just show our kids what you guys all do there? And you can literally create websites working from home, but in weird and wonderful niches like birds. Liz and I actually own a website in birds. Like we own a site about pigeons that makes us money. It has done for the last decade.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's so niche. That's what we love about these websites. I think the other problem out there too, if you're listening to this, and for your son, Justin, and for yourself, when people hear this idea of making money online, you know how they traditionally think, oh, it must be e-commerce, you know, Amazon or something like that. We do none of that. We don't touch that at all. We don't do anything with physical inventory. So for young people starting out, or anyone starting out that doesn't want to take a risk with buying physical inventory and stock and trying to sell it, the internet is beautiful. That's the whole reason Liz and I embraced the internet many, many years ago. For us, used to buying and selling traditional bricks and mortar businesses, the internet or online businesses are very low risk. I'm not giving financial advice, and I'm not, you know, for your situation, but for us, where we come from, actually, you would be similar to Liz and I though, because you and Tara are used to doing physical real estate. There can be a lot of debt sitting there, or here in Australia, it can be a lot of debt on physical real estate. So there's a lot of risk. So we found when we got online, for us, it was the perfect business model. It was just such low risk compared to what we're used to doing in the past.
And I think every business model has ways that you can make it more risky or less risky. So I think that's some of what we want to cover over these next several episodes. That's what we're going to be doing essentially. Is coming from a real estate background, I kind of look at everything as, okay, how do we find these deals, if you will? How do we finance them? How do we get the money? How do we fix them up? How do we improve them? How do we make them worth more money so that we can then go to the last one, which is sell or hold for long-term cash flow, right? So what we're going to do is Matt and I are going to have this discussion, and then we're going to break this up into multiple episodes for you guys. So it's kind of like this full-blown masterclass on how to buy, fix, finance, renovate, and sell and or hold properties for online real estate for cash flow, right? But let's start out with, for me, or if I'm thinking for my son, I'm thinking, where do I find these deals? Where do I find these websites or businesses, if you will? Because they are businesses in a sense, I guess, right? You fill me in. But where do I find these websites?
Well, it's exactly like real estate. There's two places that Liz and I have used for great success. When we started, so we were one of the first people to start buying and selling online businesses before marketplaces or brokers existed. So I'm going to come to how we did it because I still love that methodology. But these days, just like real estate, there's basically agents or brokers. So broker websites. So the big ones are Flipper, Empire Flippers, Quiet Light. They do big multi-million-dollar stuff, FE International. There's a whole range of brokers out there, but Flipper's probably the best and safest place, say, for your son to start out, because you can buy really small websites under $5,000 and learn how to do it.
And that's, for the record for everyone, FLIPPA.com. Not Flippa, which is what you said.
Yeah, so you can buy online businesses for any price range from, say, around couple of $1,000s. Now, will they be perfect? No, but they're perfect to learn on. That's a lot cheaper than buying a bricks and mortar business and trying to learn on a bricks and mortar business. On the Flippa platform, the great thing is you can buy these smaller sites easily under $5,000, but you can also go up into the millions. And with all the other brokers out there, it's a very mature marketplace now. It's completely transformed over the last 15 years. You can get what's called curated website listings. So their brokers have kind of done a bit of due diligence. You've still got to learn how to do it yourself, which you and I are going to cover in this series because that's the most important skill you can have. But finding good websites is actually not that difficult. But my favorite methodology is, I'm imagining like what you guys would have done, is the private approach, where we quietly approach people in our niches and we say, hey, I'm a cash buyer. I'm interested in this niche. Have you ever thought about selling your online business? And what we actually are looking for there is not the really what's called high-ranking websites. We're looking for the ones that have been neglected, have been forgotten about, maybe left alone for the last couple of years. And they're sitting really low in the Google search engine. They might not even be there. And the person just goes, oh, I've done nothing with this. Yep, you can have it for $400. And I'll give you an exact example. This one will interest your son or anyone listening. We have a young couple who've been with us for many years and they now live the laptop lifestyle and they can live wherever they want. And they do exactly this strategy. And they were researching the gardening niche, native gardens here in Australia. And they noticed this little old website that was about 10 years old, started by a guy who's really passionate about native Australian gardens. They're not gardeners at all. They just knew, though, from doing our course, that is gold because it's one of these genuine passion sites. And they literally did what I just described and they picked that website up for $400. So they said to him, oh, are you doing anything? He said, no, I haven't touched it in years. I don't make any money off it. But it had lots of traffic, lots of people visiting it. It had real content. In this day and age of AI written content, that was a massive bonus. They've now renovated that site and it now makes $4,000 a month net. That's net profit. So that was one that no one else would ever have seen unless you were kind of hunting through searching. And that's how Liz and I started buying and selling websites because that's what we used to do with bricks and mortar business. That was our specialty. We'd go around industrial areas in Australia and find out whether or not the owners want to sell their factories and their wholesale import businesses. Then we used to do that for high net worths as well. We got really, really good at it. So when we got online, we would just ferret out the deals. And I think that's what you guys did with real estate, isn't it? So you can find the good bargains.
100%. And I love it. So I wrote down find, in my notes here, I wrote, okay, I know there's different brokerage websites, but I was like, I got to imagine that just like the MLS, do you guys have the MLS when you list properties? Or there's some website that you list properties on in Australia, I imagine, right?
Yes, realestate.com.
Okay, yeah, so we call it the MLS, multiple listing services. And so it's like once it's on there, like everybody knows about it. One of the strategies is to make 100 offers and keep following up, and eventually you might get a good deal. But the best way, just like on the MLS or a website that has everything that's listed for sale, it's like you have a seller, they know they want to sell it, they're represented by an agent or a broker, and there's a lot of competition because there's a lot of people looking at that. So they're probably going to get a better price. But if you find someone who doesn't even know they want to sell, they might be a little more motivated. So, okay, cool. So I was going to ask you if there's a private seller route as well. So let's talk about both of those because I imagine people do get deals on Flippa, and I think just like in real estate, it's probably a good place to like cut your teeth and to like analyze deals and see what's out there.
It's absolutely the best. And that's what we teach because Flippa gives you a lot of data. Once you've learned a bit of stuff and you know what you're looking for, it's amazing, Justin. Seriously, I can spend hours and literally for our clients, I jump on live and I show them within 5 minutes. You hear me, like I get excited. I go, oh, look at these. Man, I've already found 10. And when Liz gets on, we're both the same. We're talking over each other and we're looking at these deals. It is really cool because you can see all the data, exactly like you said. And you can still find, I wouldn't say, it's not bargains like it used to be 15 years ago or whatever, or 10 years ago, but you can definitely find amazing deals. So you got to also remember when you're buying businesses, it's something that I learned off Warren Buffett many years ago, the world's most famous investor. It's not always about getting something cheap. It's about buying, what does he say? Buying a wonderful company at the right price. that there is that as well. And I've certainly noticed that so I've been buying and selling businesses now for 30 years. We didn't do the real estate thing. We just went straight into buying and selling businesses. And I've definitely noticed it's not always about getting bargains. It's about getting the good deals at a right price. And one of our strategies for buying good websites, this sounds counterintuitive, but is seriously to offer full price, the listing price, so that you get it before anyone else, especially when it's in your own niche. So niches are really important in online business. When you get a lot of experience in certain niches, there's certain niches, Liz and I just know it back to front. We've been number one in them. So if I see a listing come up, I already know all the due diligence because I've already had a high ranking site. Those sorts of deals are no-brainers, absolute no-brainers when you know what you're doing.
Shipping can make or break a sale, so optimize how you ship your orders with ShipStation. They make it easy to automate and manage orders no matter how big your business grows. And they might even be able to help reduce shipping and warehouse costs. So optimize and keep up your momentum for growth with ShipStation. Sign up for your free 60-day trial now at ShipStation.com and use the code POD. That's ShipStation.com with the code POD.
And just to be clear, when you say offer full price, it's because you're seeing a website that you can add value to and make money from.
We've got a lovely client, Greg. He's just a really nice, gentle guy who loves playing guitar, and he's got a membership site where he teaches people how to play jazz guitar. I've been coaching him privately on that. That's already a 6-figure business. And so it's just an online business. He records himself teaching people how to play jazz guitar. So a website came up on Flipper. He's also doing all our other strategies as well, like buying these content sites. And it was a music site about guitars, and it reviews guitars. And again, just like with Nathan Lexa, he started looking through it and realized it was started by someone who's genuine. They're passionate about the topic, about guitars. And he could tell as a musician, this is really good content. And it was listed on Flipper for $28,000 US. And he asked me about it. And then basically he hit what's called the buy it now button, because he knew he could monetize that a lot better than anyone else because he can just put his product on there straight away. So to him, that website's probably worth twice. And I think the seller was surprised that someone just offered him full price. I agreed with him. I said, mate, that's a really smart thing to do. And that site's turned out amazing. He's done nothing with it. We're not even implementing the big plan on it yet. And it's still just ticking along day after day. It makes $1,000 a month net. And that's without doing anything. But for him, I would suggest that site, I think he will quadruple the profit on that website pretty easily. So it was worth paying full price.
What I heard you say right now is that website is worth more to him than anyone else because he can plug his product in there. And so he understands the monetization. So that's an exciting angle because your competition is basically hardly anything because it's specific to you in that situation.
That's right. And with that site, just in case anyone's wondering, before Greg bought it, the way it makes money is just by having ads on it. And people click on the ads and the owner makes money. And that's typically how we make money online. That's how we've made it. Liz and I have made our money through that for the last 15 years. And it's 24/7, very quiet, worldwide market. On the surface, it doesn't sound that exciting. You make $1,000 a month, $5,000 a month. Well, own 10 of those websites, that's passive income. It's not strictly fully passive. You got to do work on them. But basically, that's the concept. So that's one of Greg's, we call it a portfolio site. It's making $1,000 a month. He owns several. And what he's doing is just he'll renovate them up. And so you imagine you're making $1,000 a month net. If you can, over a year or so, double or quadruple that, and you own 4 or 5 of those websites, now you're talking a significant income every month. So remember, he already owns another guitar site that already does 6 figures, making $10,000 plus a month. This one will get to about $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So now he's building it out. If he gets another guitar site, he's got quite a portfolio there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's when you're at financial freedom, essentially, right? You have more money coming in than you really know what to do with. I mean, my wife and I always joke about, we don't want a jumbo jet. We've already had the big house and we sold it. It's like, and we don't need like this huge mansion. It's like we can like right now we're traveling the world for 9 months. We go do what we want to do. I want to know what we're looking for when we go to the brokerage websites. And then I want to get more into the private, how to reach out to the private sellers and connect with them. But let's start with, I literally just created an account on Flippa right before. It was a little overwhelming, but also really exciting. So I'm like, I want to buy them all, but I don't know what I'm looking at. So you go on flippa.com, you create an account. What am I now looking for?
It is a really good question. Now, this is actually quite a big question. You need a plan. And Liz loves teaching this. She likens it to you real estate guys. You wouldn't just go into a country town and just randomly buy the first house that you see or commercial property. You need a plan. So what we teach, we only teach what we do. You can buy e-commerce sites and things, but we don't. So we eliminate those. And if you're a beginner listening to this and say, like for your son, I wouldn't recommend you buy an e-commerce site. I know that's controversial because there's all these courses out there teaching people to buy e-commerce websites, but they're just too complex for beginners.
Unless, once again, to your point, that's your like specialty.
Very different situation. Absolutely.
Yeah, but we're trying to remove friction here.
Yeah, because it involves physical inventory and you can get stuck with, you got to spend money on that and you can get stuck with it in a warehouse. Been there, done it. It's not a nice feeling, especially when you've got a lot of money tied up.
We're talking about path of least resistance. You and I both know people who have e-commerce and kill it, but that's their specialty. That's what they grew into. That's what they do, yeah.
They do 7 and 8 figures. They're legends at it. But if you're starting out, what we teach is just start with simple, what we call content sites. Ideally, the real secret strategy is passion sites, ones where people are passionate about a hobby or helping people. So online, we were lucky. We started online back in the days when really the internet, you can go online and find a lot of stuff. But when you boil it down, what our strategy is, we're helping people. Like Zig Ziglar said, remember in the old days, Zig Ziglar used to say, the more people you help, the wealthier you will become. Online, we're finding websites that are trying to help people answer questions. So I want to learn how to play golf better. I want to learn how to take a better photograph, or I want to know how to knit things, or I want to get healthier, I want to get wealthier, or I want to get happier. So the 3 big categories are health, wealth, and happiness. And ideally passion sites where people have created the sites themselves out of background knowledge. You don't need to have knowledge of the niche at all because we hire writers later on. But when you know what you're doing, you can buy any website. But really the strategy boils down to we want sites that drive what we call traffic, like has lots of visitors to it. And when they're on that site, they take an action. So they either click on an ad, and that's all automated income for you, or it's called affiliate marketing. They click on a link, you get a commission for anything they buy when they go over to the vendor's site. And that is very powerful. So what that means is you can go into any niche you want. When you're on Flippa, what you want to set the search to, Justin, is just content sites at first. Blogs, basically blogs. The other good thing with this is we've got quite a lot of clients who are travel bloggers. They travel around the world and they write about it. And then same thing, lots of people read it. When you think about it, they're helping people, because if someone wants to go to the US and they want to drive an RV across the US and you're brand new to it, you're going to look it up first online, and hopefully your site comes up and you can explain to them. Or say for you guys, you've got specialist knowledge now and about traveling around the world with your family. So Liz and I were talking about you guys this morning with another friend of ours, because we've all got kids and everything. We're saying, wow, it's just so cool that, you're traveling around with a lot of kids. Now that's a niche, how to travel the world with lots of kids, and raise them as, how you want with family values and stuff. And it's just a really cool topic. So someone's going to look that up. If they found your blog, then you can offer them either a product or there's ads on there. And then the bigger your site gets, the more money you make. It's all about volume down the track.
So on flippa.com, you want to focus on content sites, passion sites, which is the same, content, but they're passionate about a certain topic, niche sites as they're often referred to. And then you want to find sites that have a lot of traffic, but perhaps aren't leveraging that. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So there's opportunities to renovate them. Typically people will own quite a few websites so they can neglect them. So when you know what you're doing, you can see where they've neglected them. Often the sellers will openly tell you that because they're like us, they own a portfolio. And what people do is they sell off their smaller sites and they focus on the big sites. So you can get some really good bargains that way, or really good websites. When you're looking for the criteria, there is a lot that we're looking for because we want to analyze the niche as well. We're happy to go into any niche. I don't have to be an expert on it, but I need to do a big part of deciding what we want, which sites we go for is what's called keyword research. And that's a big part of website due diligence. But when you're doing that basic search on Flippa or on any of the brokers out there, if you're starting out, just get a feel first for good content sites. There's also an interesting option on Flippa. Down the bottom on the home page, it says buy yourself a job. And that lists all the websites that are making over $10,000 a month. So if you want to kind of get a feel for what those sorts of sites look like and how they make their money, that's a really handy segment to look at because that gives you a benchmark to aim for. And what you can do is you can buy smaller sites and emulate those bigger sites that are making 10 grand a month. What you do is you build the sites up. It is mind-blowing. In that category alone, on average, whenever I go on there, and I always show this live, there's normally around 300 odd websites. That's just on the Flipper platform alone that make 10 grand a month. And there's at least 20 other high quality brokers on the planet today. Most of them are in America, the best country for it, by the way. The affiliate marketing space is so big in America. Us Australians can't appreciate it. But in America, it's massive. It is confusing at first, but once you've dialed it down and you've got we call it a search pattern, you know what you're going for. And obviously you set your price. Ideally, you would like to see some traffic, but if you're brand new, your first site's just like under $1,000. But then after that, you want to buy a website between $1,000 to $5,000. And that should typically have a bit of traffic and it should be making some money. It might only be like $50 a month or $100 a month, but it's proof of concept as well.
So you're saying your first website might just be a couple $100, like a few $100s.
Yeah. There's all these sites on Flipper called starter sites, which a lot of people say are really bad. And okay, they're not perfect. They don't make any money, but you know what it is? It gets people in the game. Most people don't even execute. So for a couple of $100, if you've always wanted to do a side hustle, why wouldn't you do that? There's no risk. You can always just delete it later or resell it back on Flipper for a couple $100.
Yeah. So it's like a practice site, essentially.
It's a practice site, yeah.
For myself, if I were doing it for me, I would probably want to start a little higher because it's almost like not worth my time, if you will. But for my son, then that's perfect because he has no money.
I'm talking to your son, and most of our clients that we have, we generally teach total beginners online who've never done it before. But most of them are just like myself and yourself, they're family people, they're professionals, they earn a high income or they're ex-real estate investors. They just don't have any technical skills and they've never been online before. So we always say to those people, if you're listening and you're one of those people, like I'm saying to Justin's son, buy a site under $1,000 so you can at least learn the technical side. It's a practice side. For someone like yourself, Justin, with deep industry experience and very successful in business, you guys are, really successful in business. You already know way more than you realize. Your only barrier is the technical side. So you could definitely go much higher and you would find education businesses in the real estate game or real estate related websites if you wanted to stick to your area of expertise, or I would suggest for a bit of fun, travel site. You get a travel site, they are gold. They're just amazing. Now it's competitive now. Everyone wants these travel sites, but we have a client who just started with us. He's a lovely young guy, corporate guy, family, works for a very big publicly listed company here in Australia. Everyone would know it. Very senior role, and he just does this part-time. He bought a travel blog for $200,000 as his first website, which I told him he shouldn't have gone that big. But anyway, it worked. It was making $6,000 a month net profit after all expenses. And now he's renovated. It's making $15,000 a month net. And that's whilst he's working, I would imagine, 5 to 9 type hours for this big corporate. So he's saying to me, hey, Matt, how do I go next level like your client? Like how do I do what you guys have done? How do I go to 7 and 8 figures? And I said, well, just buy 5 more of those. And you're right. And he goes, well, how do I structure that around my life? And I said, well, we need to have a chat. That's what I'm here for. You can do it though. But he was blown away by how well this travel site worked. It's just a travel blog. It's not him on it. He's not traveling. He's here in Australia raising a family.
So he bought it for, you said 200,000.
I think it was around 200,000 from memory. Yeah.
What was it making?
Net, I think it was around $6,000. So that should be like, most websites sell on what's called a 30 times multiple. So 30 times a net profit.
Okay.
So monthly, we talk about everything monthly. What's 6,000?
Do you say 3 or 30?
30 times monthly.
30, oh, then net profit.
Not revenue. No, we don't look at revenue. Oh, well, we look at revenue, but it's always net profit. If you come from a traditional bricks and mortar business background or an e-commerce background, you're thinking 50% margins. Our content sites and for all our clients are like 80 to 90%. So if you go onto Flipper, those numbers are real.
Yeah. So when you say 30 times, you're talking about for the month?
Monthly.
Monthly. Okay, that makes more sense. Because in my mind, I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
In traditional business terms, it's just the standard 3 times yearly.
3 times, yeah.
Yeah, 3 times yearly. Maybe is that how you real estate guys look at it?
I mean, it just depends. There's lots of different ways to analyze it. I mean, even on the webinar that you did, I heard you guys mention it can be anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on how much work it takes and stuff like that. But you're talking about yearly. I'm just trying to think of like, okay, so what he got that for, and then he improved it. And then I'm just looking at the returns and stuff like that.
He's doubled it. That's always the goal, to double it. So then when you double it, the value to you goes exponential because the sale price can actually go way beyond 3 times. It can go to 4 and 5 times depending on the marketplace. And one of their most favorite stories is one of the brokers, Joe Valley from Quiet Light. We interviewed him about this. He had a young guy start out who was struggling financially, and he started out small, exactly like how we teach. Bought his first website for $7,000, learned how to fix it up. He doubled it, sold it for around $20,000, rolled that in straight away into the next deal. He bought a $20,000 website, got that to $200,000, sold that within 4 flips. And I think in less than 5 years, he turned it into $9 million. That's starting with 0 money. Now, that's an outlier. That doesn't happen all the time. But that actually is the strategy that Liz and I have done and we teach people. But to do 9 million normally takes you a lot longer than 5 years. But that's how you can get that leverage, because as the sites become more exponential, you might buy them on a 2 times multiple and then you sell them on a 4 times. And of course, if you've already doubled and quadrupled the profits through your efforts, the return to you is exponential compared to what you bought it. The ROI is massive. But these are businesses. When you're doing it at that level, I would say that's not as passive. You are actively pushing on it. You're the one in there every day working on it, but it's worth it for $9 million. It depends on what your life goal is, whether you need this as a side hustle, which is most of our clients because they're working full-time jobs, or if you're learning, or if you want to do the big multi-million-dollar thing, got to put more time and effort into it.
Let's give it up for Matt Raad. Was that some good stuff or what? Just a reminder, this is only part 1 of 4. We will be publishing parts 2, 3, and 4 over the next week, so be sure to stay tuned. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about Matt and Liz and everything they have going on, you can go to ebusinessinstitute.com or literally just look up Matt's name. That's Matt, M-A-T-T, and then Raad, R-A-A-D. In the meantime, get out there. As always, take some action. This is a topic that Matt and I talked about throughout the podcast. Action is where everything happens, not just regular action, but effective action. Getting your hands dirty. It's where the rubber meets the road. We believe in you. Believe in yourself. You got this. You can do this. If you like this episode, share with a friend. Leave us a rating and review wherever you're listening now. Get our free business course at millionaireuniversity.com/training. And until next time, this is Justa Williams, your Chief Money Making Officer, signing off. Au revoir. Le classe is dismissed.